What's up, everybody? Welcome to the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today is June 1st. I can't believe we're already in June. Seems like the month of May was a long one, and we had about like 5 weekends. And we had a lot of things going on this past weekend. Champions League, which I know me and Andy were watching at the Bank of California Stadium. Then obviously the game was there. So a lot of things going on. But let me introduce the guests. We got LAFCLive. LAFCLive, how you doing?
Pretty good, Gio. Thanks for having me on again. Nice to be with you and Andy talking football. It was a crazy weekend. We saw the week. We got Villarreal, Manchester United. Shout out to Unai Emery for getting it done. But then Chelsea won, so that kind of dampened things. And then obviously LAFC. We'll get into it. But yeah, it was a cool weekend though. Cool weekend.
Yeah, Andy, how you been, man? I know I saw you the Champions League day at LAFC. How'd you spend the rest of the weekend?
Pretty good, man. Happy to be here. Yeah, Champions League on Saturday at the Bank. Watched that game there on the big screens, which was pretty cool that they had that. And then obviously the LAFC game. I actually watched the Galaxy game at the stadium too, which was pretty funny. And yeah, then besides that, just kind of hanging out with friends, man. Trying to take advantage of Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, there's a lot of soccer coming up just because MLS is on international break. Obviously, that means that we're gonna get a bunch of games elsewhere. So it's exciting because I get to kind of take another approach at things and look at how these players and teams are doing internationally. So I'm happy.
Yeah, we got the Nations League's coming up here this Thursday, so that's going on. We got the playoffs. The Lakers are playing right now too. So no Anthony Davis, unfortunately, right? Those following the Lakers in the NBA. But yeah, one thing I do want to talk about is Cruz Azul. Them winning, Liga MX. I said this on yesterday's show, but like growing up, I was a Cruz Azul fan because of my dad. But then I stopped following them for like the last 4 or 5 years. So, but I remember I just watched like the last 20 minutes, and I was like, man, that was like a special moment after being the joke for so long. You know what I'm saying? They finally did it. Any thoughts on Cruz Azul?
Good story, right? I think it was since 1997, I believe.
Yeah.
They haven't won really a trophy or anything. So kudos to them. It's amazing because I saw a lot of people on the timeline celebrating that are Cruz Azul fans or know people that are Cruz Azul fans. And yeah, that's always an awesome story to see the underdogs. It seems like this year is the story of the underdogs. You got Leicester City winning FA Cup, Lille winning the French League, got Cruz Azul winning over here, Atletico Madrid. So you're the underdogs, which is a great story. And kudos to the Cruz Azul fans and the squad. Great job.
Yeah, Andy, what'd you think about Cruz Azul?
Same thing. I didn't get to watch any of the game, but yeah, it's just Cruz Azul has always been the thing, and it's always been a laughing stock in the term. So just for him to be able to get that, and I always like when certain teams win championships, just to see the reaction and just seeing those pictures of how they were celebrating down there was pretty dope to see, considering what we just came off of last year, where people were stuck in the house during the pandemic. And although we weren't supposed to, well, not we, but people weren't supposed to celebrate certain championships, they still did during the pandemic in certain sports. But it's just cool, man. It's like LAFCLive had said and mentioned, when you see certain teams win, like you would kind of expect Manchester United to win that, but you see certain teams when they kind of deserve it. It's cool to see because you kind of want to change it up a little bit. You don't want to have it be the same one. So that's kind of how I felt about Cruz Azul along the same lines too.
Yeah, now when people ask me which Liga MX team you support, I don't necessarily feel embarrassed anymore. I feel like, yeah, Cruz Azul, like we won it, baby. Let's go.
You're the first one to buy the shirt, the champion shirt.
No, I haven't bought it. Like I said, I'm not like an active fan like I used to be. Like back in the day when Morcillo, when they went with the Morcillo, I was like, oh, I want to be like him. But like I said, last 4 or 5 years, kind of tuned it out. But Joseph, I was just chatting with him. He said, told you I'd try to tune in. Great podcast, Gio. Thank you for tuning in. Golasso B Sports, thank you for tuning in. I think he was on the Spaces earlier. And then David Day says, congrats to Cruz Azul. Hope to see them again someday in the CCL. That was very special. And I think also too, like I also want to hit on, Christian Pulisic, being the first American to win the Champions League, right? I think that's very special. I think we all saw the photo with him and his family, his mom, dad. I think that was just a very special moment for soccer in America, for everybody, because that, we're there, right? Like obviously we're at the level we can win it now, and Christian Pulisic being that guy, I think it's a very special moment, and I just want to see where his career goes after this, because he's won it at the biggest stage.
Yes, right. Sir. And he was part. He was like, he played well. Obviously, he had the goals and the assists in the semifinals, and it's just to show that, like, what the U.S. is growing, the way that it could organically happen is a good sign. Just for everything moving forward. Like, he's obviously the bright spot of what U.S. soccer is right now, but there's so many other players along those same lines that could accomplish great things. So it's amazing to see that, him get to that level, and then him put on the U.S. the sweater and the shirt or whatnot after celebrating. So yeah, man, we were rooting for him. I thought he was going to come on and score that goal on that one play, and it was. I think the people that were at the bank were super excited when he was on too, even if they were rooting for Man City. So that just says enough about like how people are trying to push for him.
LAFCLive, your thoughts?
Honestly, seeing an American player win the Champions League, that was crazy to me, because I thought that'd never be possible. But we've been seeing American players go to Chelsea, Dortmund, Barcelona. So to see the actual, American player win the Champions League trophy, hold it in their hands, is great to see. Now we got to build on that. I know his Chelsea career has been a little bit up and down with injuries, maybe out of favor of the coaches. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets maybe a loan move somewhere, or maybe a permanent move somewhere else. But happy for him in the meantime. And then hopefully the United States Soccer Federation could build on the success. I know they took an L over the weekend against Switzerland. I won't go into details on what I think about what's going on over there. It could be a little better.
Not that team yet.
Yeah. So I won't talk about it. But yeah, it's good for American soccer. It's really good.
Yeah, and great comment by Joseph. He says Pulisic winning is going to bring more eyes on MLS, maybe for future scouts. Talents like McKennie, Zach Steffen, and the rest are putting us on the map. I completely agree. And shout out to LAC Hawaii. Shout out to Grimace 420. But yeah, no, I agree with that. Pulisic when it helps the MLS. It really does help the MLS. It's going to help. I agree with that. It's going to bring the scouting. It's going to put MLS more on the map, and it's going to give Americans more of an opportunity to be linked up, right? To get to those big stages. So yeah, I just want to see where Christian Pulisic goes from here and continues going, because to me he's a starter. I'm not the coach, but I love what he did and how he impacted the game as soon as he came in. But yeah, let's talk about this game now. Obviously, brutal game, brutal loss. Let's recap it first. So before I get started, I do want to say I was watching the game, but I did go to Dignity Hill Sports Park to go watch the Cali Classico, and I was watching them on a laptop, and the stream kept breaking, so I had to catch the highlights to really engage and really understand the game. And I just watched the highlights today, so I mean it was definitely a poor performance from LAFC. But Andy, I know you were there. I know you stayed for the whole game. Recap this game for us and your thoughts on LAFC's performance.
God, Gio's the busiest man in Southern California. It was. What's funny about the game is that it felt really LAFC for that first half, and it just felt kind of what we're getting used to them trying to dominate and really just not being able to make much happen in the offensive end. I thought they played decent in that first 45 minutes, but once again, like if you can't get it to be concrete, then it's going to come back around and bite you in, and they end up taking the lead. Which once again is very typical of LAFC. But the thing that really struck me is that, when they play at home, it's supposed to be that so challenging for opposing teams. And when you see them go up kind of in that moment, you're like, okay, like they're probably going to see this out or just get another one and it'll be good. And then it quickly changes like within seconds when that they score the equalizer, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. And then they get the goal at the end. And it was like, it went from, probably like a good feeling, like, okay, we're coming off of a win. We're going to be able to probably get another one. And, the narrative is going to change because we're just trying to climb up the standings. It went from a mountaintop to very low quickly there, the way that they lost that. So, yeah, it was I don't know if it was, I want to say a weird game because New York City is tough, man. That's a good team and they're solid from front to back. But it was definitely a game, how people say maybe one team won, maybe one team lost. It was definitely a game that LAFC lost more than the New York City won for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely brutal way to lose after, you're talking about the home field advantage, right? That's something LAFC has done so well. LAFCLive, let's talk about Carlos Vela. He had opportunities in the first half, right, to score, but his finishing wasn't as sharp, as clinical that we're used to, right? What were your thoughts on Carlos Vela in the first half?
A little timid at times. I don't know if that's still because of the injury or he's being worked back in. It's not the Carlos Vela that we've been accustomed to and seeing. And like I said, maybe that injury is nagging him at a bit, but he's a competitor from what I've seen and what I've learned to love about Vela. He always wants to score. So the fact that he didn't have that killer instinct was a little different for me, to be honest with you. Also, maybe it's a tactic that was said, like, don't be taking shots from the outside, which is something that we have seen this whole season, that these guys like to walk it in the net instead of they want to score that perfect goal instead of letting it fly from outside the 18 or maybe a 25. But it was a little weird for me. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, I think the two opportunities that he had in the box, and I think he just whiffed the ball, right, and I think that was surprising because he obviously the defender's on there, he has the pressure, but it's not the cool, calm, and collected finish that we've seen from Vela. So you bring up a great point. I wonder if that injury is nagging Carlos Vela, because that's not how he typically finishes, and that's not how he typically takes command of the game. And right, he scores one of those a couple opportunities, and you're talking about a different game in the first half going into second half, right? But he wasn't able to do that, and that's probably why, because of potentially the injury. That's the only thing I could come up with, agreeing with you, LAFCLive. But I think the other thing is as well, they had opportunities, but they weren't able to take advantage in the first half, because I think when and Andy, you talked about this, right? Being at home, what was like the vibe in the stadium after that first half, Andy?
I think it was normal. I mean, I think that's why I kind of mentioned it, because it felt typical, and I don't think that fans there were like, okay, we feel trouble. Like, they're like, oh, this is a typical LAFC half. I mean, I'm sure that, like you said, if Vela puts one of those two away, we're talking a whole different ballgame. And the first one, he definitely mishit. The second one, I believe it was deflected though. But either way, it's one of those things that, like, they're gonna kind of used to them just playing these stale 45 minutes of, like, they're okay, they're not playing terrible, they're not playing great, but it's like you haven't seen them really jump ahead at any moment besides this last game against Colorado. And I think that fans, it's not going to worry them too much when they're in stadium at that moment, because it's still 0-0, but it's for sure getting, I guess, a routine or something that fans are getting used to, that they're not going to enjoy going forward. So I felt like it was normal for sure until the end, and then it's like, oh man, I know people were heading home after that, not happy at all.
Yeah, one thing I should have brought up first, I should have brought up the lineup. So I apologize. We're going to go back a little bit, right? So he had Tristan Blackman, Bob Baird had Tristan Blackman on the right back, Murillo, Eddie Segura, Chiqui Palacios left side. He started Cifuentes over Latif Blessing. Eduardo Tuesta got the start, obviously. Mark Anthony Kaye, then obviously Carlos Vela, Corey Baird, and Diego Rossi. Pretty strong lineup there. Right. So I feel like the offense was flowing and everything was going great in the first half. But then things started to get challenging, and I think Carlos Vela not looking as sharp may have had some impact on some of the offensive struggles. But I think when you look at the job, that we saw Corey Baird, right, LAFCLive, I feel like he's been the most consistent. Obviously, he's been the most healthy out of the three up top. But once he got that second goal, what were your thoughts on Corey Baird getting that goal?
Well, Corey Baird was at the right place in the right time. I'll give credit where credit's due for Mark Anthony Kaye and the assist. We'll get much more into that later about him, but it was on a platter for him. He couldn't miss. If he did miss, then there'd be some questions raised. But he's supposed to be like that hard worker around the box, which he's proved to be. Is he going to be a solution going forward? And in the playoffs, when you need a goal in the hefty moments of Vela's hurt, or or Rossi's gone by then, we don't know. I don't know yet. So Baird, in the meantime, is a good hold-up player as well. You can see the chemistry. I just don't think something's clicking though to where it should be already. Is it the fifth game of the season, sixth game, something like that, or seventh game? I've lost count already. Okay, it's been a hectic few weeks. So seventh game a season, and the chemistry doesn't seem to be there all the way, if that makes sense.
No, I'm with you, and I think I think with those injuries that tends to happen. But nevertheless, I think when you have that much star power up there, this team should be consistent, right? Where there's winning, and I think this is something that they're not used to. What were your thoughts on Corey Baird, Andy?
Yeah, I think he's been good. He's been, I think, serving his purpose, and I think we've talked about it on this program a few times. Like, that number 9 role in that attack is very different, and he's kind of just moving the way that he needs to in order to have an effect, or enough of an effect. It was at his third goal this season, so he's trying to get my man his jersey. Hopefully he gets to that 10 goal mark. But I think that if the offense is moving the right way, then we would be probably praising Corey Baird a lot more. But it's just not. And like we're saying, he's not the solution to the larger problems that they have. So I think that that's just weighing him down as we analyze what he's been doing. But if we really have to be nitpicky, he's probably top 3, top 4 of more consistent players that they've had this season. And that in itself is not a good sign for LAFC at all. So yeah, he's just fitting in the role, but there's a lot more to come from him and from the offense in general.
Yeah, and quickly in the chat, we got an NYCFC fan. He says LA is blue. Hey, we got NYCFC fans chiming in. I love it. I mean, it was the New York versus LA battle, but I think when Corey Baird looks like to be the better player out of Carlos Vela, right, and Diego Rossi, it's kind of tough because of we know how clinical those guys can be, and I think the frustrating thing about this is that, to me, it's like no way that the way LAFC played in that second half and the things that ended up happening, right? Because after I think they scored the goal. They scored the goal. What was it, in the 55th minute? Okay, had an incredible assist, to Corey Baird. Then we go now deeper in the game, and we're going to the 70th minute. Obviously, Mark-Anthony Kaye has a terrible mistake, and his passing has not been as consistent, and unfortunately it led to a goal. And I just have the replay here. There's a different angle so that I want to show. Actually, let me show. I wanted to show Corey Baird goal here. Let me show
Blackman. Now Rossi, you switch flanks as well to get inside of Amundsen there, in behind for Kaye. His low crosses towards Corey Baird, and you will not score an easier goal than that. Mark-Anthony Kaye, lovely work towards the byline, getting his second assist for Corey Baird's 3rd goal of the year, and LAFC have the breakthrough on 55 minutes.
So I forgot I wanted to show the goal, and I think the reason why I want to show the goal is you see how passionate Corey Baird is about the scoring goals and about the fans. I always see him just look up to the fans and be so appreciative of them. So now let's go into Mark-Anthony Kaye's pass.
Low through the penalty area, Magno threatening. Turn on it in pressure is Tinnerholm. Finding Medina! Lovely take! And he's drawn New York City FC level. A breakout season for the young DP. He's now on 5-7. And with 20 minutes to play, LA and New York level.
What a strike by Medina. A perfect one right into the back of the net.
So obviously that's a different angle. You kind of see a little bit more of Mark-Anthony Kaye's angle there. Andy, what are your thoughts on that play and what happened there?
Oh man, it's thoughts. There's a lot of thoughts there. First thought is you can't play with the ball there, and I think that's just basic soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, knowledge. Especially in that moment, especially a player like that's a leader on the team. It's just doing too much, and this might be an unpopular opinion. I know Max Bredoff shared it during the game, which is funny because I was actually thinking the same thing. But I thought Mark-Anthony Kaye was playing a decent game. I don't think he was playing great. I don't think he was playing terrible, though. But when that happened, it just deflated them completely. We saw the Jesus David Murillo play. It was kind of similar in the Galaxy game where you're trying to do something out of the back. And they say, we play out of the back, so that's something that may happen. But it's pretty inexcusable. The New York City had just made some subs, so they were definitely high pressing with the purpose. And you have to be able to realize that. You have to be able to see that the pressure is on in that moment. Clear the ball. Just clear it. Even if you have to give up a corner, maybe giving up a corner for them is not a good idea either, but they need to be able to, in those moments, to clear that. And those are the lapses that Bob keeps talking about. And I think that the more they keep happening is the more that you're going to start feeling the pressure on certain players and the coaching staff, because you could keep talking about the lapses, but if it continuously happens, and it's not that it's the same player, but that it's different players, it's just not a good look at all. So just a bad moment defensively there for Mark. But I think more so than that, it's just that you see how defeated they look after that moment, and that's probably the most concerning part about it to me.
What was the mood in the stadium after that, Andy? Because you were there. How did it feel in the stadium after that happened?
I think it was still fairly. It was like around what, the late 60th, 69, 68, something like that.
70th minute.
Okay, yeah, so I mean, I think fairly they still felt like, okay, we're still a chance to do this. And from watching LAFC for a while, you kind of know that when they want to attack and they want to push forward, like they'll press hard to try to either get an equalizer or get a winner in this case. So I think there was still some confidence. But like I said, there wasn't much to be seen. Like when you see, no offense to anybody, but when you see a player like Raheem Edwards coming into the game, like I don't know if LAFC fans are as confident, like, okay, we have Raheem Edwards coming in, like we're going to get an equalizer or we're going to get a winner. Sorry. So there was still, the level was fine in the stadium itself, but it goes back to the same thing we've also talked about, is like this depth for LAFC is something that we applauded all offseason coming into this year, and it just doesn't seem to be there. It's like, where are the options? What is going on here? They don't have Mahala right now because of the injury, but still, even with him on that roster and that bench, like there doesn't seem to be another piece that could really offer something that this offense really needs at the time when you're late in the game looking for a goal. So it's a weird situation, man. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, LAFC, let's get your thoughts. Obviously, that's a terrible pass by K. What are your thoughts on that play?
Are you sure you want to ask me? Are you sure you want to ask me that?
I just asked you respectfully if you could share your thoughts.
All right.
We don't need you to explode now.
No. I'm trying not to. That was poor. There's so many different options you could have done with the ball. So many different options, but that pass, unexcusable. That takes away all that little pretty assist he did. That takes everything away. Everyone forgets about that. I definitely forgot about it. He could have done a lot of better things with the ball. I think sometimes, well, actually not. I don't think. I know Mark Anthony K thinks he's better than what he is. And I think Bob thinks he's better than what he is. And I know it's going to sound harsh. I could say a lot of other things, but he needs to be better. He needs to be a lot better if he's going to start in the midfield. But the thing is, I feel his starting spot is not up for grabs at all, which is kind of dumbfounding because he hasn't been consistent at all this season. Sometimes he's okay, and then sometimes he's poor, and sometimes he's looks good, but he's just not consistent enough, and he's not good enough to start in the midfield, unfortunately. So that was the tipping point. But the only thing now I want to see is, because we have the international break coming up. Canada plays 3 games against Martinique, Aruba, and somebody else. And I'm sure he's going to look like Iniesta in the midfield for them when they play. So Bob will be watching that. So he's going to come back and start again. So that's a problem, But if he sits the bench or he benches him, then maybe Bob realized, okay, maybe I need to take a break on starting this kid every week.
Yeah, look, there's to me, right? I mean, you guys made a lot of great points, but to me, when I look at this, to me, there's no other way to put it that. Mark Anthony, hey, it's no secret. He hasn't been sharp with his passing. He's been very inconsistent. And as a leader of this team, you expect more. I think he even expects more. Bob Bradley expects more. But I think when a mistake happens that severe and that bad, and it causes you to give up a goal, and you, as a kid, you're taught not to pass the ball in the middle or down inside the box like that. That to me, that I think a mistake like that, it's not his first time a pass or anything like that. I think now it's time to give someone else an opportunity. It's time. It's 7 weeks in. It is time to give someone else the opportunity in that starting role. Maybe later down the line, he can fight for that spot, and he can still be a leader in this team. Just because he doesn't start for this team, he can still be a leader for this team. But as of right now, I wouldn't have Mark Anthony K at the starting midfield. It's just been too many inconsistent passes. He'll have like a great, 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Like you said, everybody forgot about that assist. And it's just unfortunate because when a team is struggling so bad, you want to limit the amount of mistakes. And unfortunately, they did it to themselves, right? LFC hurt themselves, and there was no way you could come back from something like that. And and I think the thing that was also that was mind-boggling is Andy, you talked about it, the substitutions, right? So let's look at the substitution timeline. So the goal happens in the 70th minute. Latif Blessing comes in the 72nd minute for Jose Cifuentes, and then Raheem Edwards comes in for Corey Baird in the 73rd minute. Are you surprised that Bob didn't sub out K? Andy?
Man, a surprise? Probably not. It's interesting to me because Mark is, I feel like Mark is a very emotional player, and when he gets down on himself, it's very easy to tell body language wise. I mean, we've talked to him after losses and seeing how he's been. But I think that what you guys are basically talking about is true, man, because like, if you see something like that happen, like, is your best idea like, okay, let's pull him, or is the best idea like, let's just keep him there? I feel like if the team has options, it's in the midfield, and we've mentioned Pancho Janela a few times in the past. Like, why is he not getting more time? Like, there has to be something like that. Maybe Mark doesn't go 90 anymore, or you kind of flip the switch, or you have Latif starting to have him coming off the bench. I personally do like Latif off the bench because he brings you a lot of energy in a later aspect. But I don't want to say I'm surprised, because nothing about the way that they function really surprises me anymore. But I don't know if their subs were the best, and I would say that maybe you make a different move in those situations than the one that they did.
Yeah, LAFC, let's get your thoughts on the substitutions. Obviously, that happened, and I wasn't watching the game. Like when I watched the replay, I mean, the only reason I bring this up is because when Mark Anthony K does something like that, right? It's like, and he doesn't get subbed out or anything like that. It's like, to me, I feel like you're okay with making a mistake, right? I feel like the only players that I would be okay, this is my opinion, if Carlos Vela, Diego Rossi, Eduardo Tuesta did that, I can live with that. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately for K, he's been so consistent. He's so inconsistent with the passing that, it's been 7 weeks in. It's been the same story, unfortunately. He was playing great up until that point, you know what I'm saying? But I think 7 weeks in, it's more than enough time. But let's get your thoughts on the substitutions.
I didn't understand it. Like, out of all people, you taking out Atuesta, you're taking out Cifuentes, and then we need a goal. I would rather just have Corey Baird instilled and put in Raheem Edwards. That's just my opinion. Mark Anthony K, the fact that he did not get subbed out at all is crazy to me. But Bob, that seems to be his guy. That's his adopted son, is Mark Anthony K, is what I'm seeing here. And,
I'm not gonna agree with that. That is not true. But
no, I know. I'm saying the way he treats him, bro. Like, he will not take him out. And I know a lot of people on the timeline like stats and numbers. So here's one for you. 5.9 was his rating. He was the lowest rated player on the pitch for that game. So I know a lot of people like to throw out stats these days for LAFC. So there's one for you for Mark Anthony K. So I don't understand it. Like I'm saying, in 2 weeks, if he's still starting, there's going to be some questions asked. And it's just frustrating. It's really frustrating to see the same things, because if something's not working, wouldn't you want to fix it? If the door that leads to your garage, it's always creaking, it doesn't stay shut, you're just going to leave it, or are you going to change it? You want to change it, right? So it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, no, and let's talk about that, right? Like, if we get ahead and Bob Bradley decides not to make a change, right? Then I think we got to look at Bob, right? Because I mean, he's making the changes and stuff like that. We have to look at Bob if Mark Anthony K, for whatever reason, does start coming when they play June 19th. What are your thoughts on that? If Bob Bradley does decide to go with them, or if he doesn't, because it's pretty obvious to everybody at this point. You know what I'm saying, Andy? Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I honestly don't see it changing. I think Mark starts regardless, just for the sheer fact that he is considered a leader on that team. And I think with saying that, it even makes it more concerning that he's having these lapses in these moments. If that's your leader, it's kind of reflective on the team as a whole right now. And I just wrote today a little MLS notebook, and LAFC section was part of it. And it's like, that's my main takeaway, is like, it's just a lack of confidence. The morale is down, and it's like, it reflects off of one player is reflecting on others. Like I said earlier, you can't really pinpoint too many players that have been great every game, or that have been really good besides really Atuesta and maybe one or two defenders, and even throw Pablo Sestega in there for the sake of it. But they just haven't been sharp. And the more it goes on, it's like, okay, sure. Like we talked about, Gio, you're going to keep hearing the same things that Bob say and that the players say, but you bring up a great point, LAFCLive. Like, the more this keeps happening, what is your option to fix it? Because you can't just keep it stagnant and say, okay, well, maybe next game we'll get them, or okay, maybe we dominated this game, but this and that. Like, no, it doesn't matter if you're losing games, if you're not gaining points. I mean, they got 2 out of 9 points out of Carlos Vela missing those 3 games. And I said it after the game, even though he went 90, he was never really a factor in that game. And I think it was because he was trying to kind of watch himself and be smart about picking his battles. And even Bob said it after the game. He says Carlos is a smart player. He's able to do that. And I think that was kind of a subliminal way of saying, like, yeah, he wasn't really trying that hard. And not to say that he wasn't trying, but he just wasn't giving it 100. So it's weird because, like I said, I'm not going to expect to see K not on that field starting on June 19th. But you can't just have this keep happening. And you already tried pulling one midfielder with Latif Blessing. Obviously, yeah, Tuesta's not the problem. So the only other option you have there to maybe try to fix something is take K for a little bit.
Well, let's talk about this because I think this is a great point. Like, let's put it this way, right? If Latif Blessing, to me, I don't think he should ever be coming off the bench. Ever, he should not be coming off the bench. He's too important for this team to be coming off the bench. And if Bob is okay with Mark Anthony K's inconsistent passing, then what does that tell to the rest of the players in that locker room? What does that tell that, like, hey, you know, hey, he may be treated different, right? He may have a longer relation to someone else or whatever. I think to me, the only people that have that, and in my eyes, is Carlos Vela, Diego Rossi, and Eduardo Tuesta. You know what I'm saying? I understand that those are the only three players. You know what I'm saying? But you also got to wonder, like, I don't know why Blessing doesn't get more of an opportunity, right? Blessing, or, you know, Sifu and stuff like that. I just don't ever see Blessing coming off the bench. Not if I was a manager, right? But I also got to think I think it may be a deeper thing because Chiqui Palacios has been subbed out right away. Marco Fafan has been subbed out right away after, you know, they've had some mistakes. But and if Bob is not consistent through the whole way out through his roster, those players are going to know. And they're going to feel it. They're going to know, like, hey, he may be favoring another player than others, right? If we sense it, we're not in the locker room. I could only imagine how some players may feel, and that's not going to make him feel any special way towards Bob. It's actually, I feel like it would actually do the opposite thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we will have to pay attention to, because LAFCLive, when I was looking at the replay, and, you know, obviously that first goal goes in, like, everybody's kind of looking, and they're not like essentially like, hey, we got this, don't worry. It's I kind of feel like every man for themselves. It's not the type of LAFC we've been used to, of having more being more together. They definitely feel. I get a sense. I have no sources. I have nothing, but I just have a sense that they're not together, and I'm starting to get the sense every man is for himself. LAFCLive, give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, usually when we used to go to the games and, you know, you see the fans there, we're up 1-0. It's like, all right, let's set up shop. Let's just keep pouring it on. It'd be 2-0, 3-0. But now it seems like even when we have the lead, it seems like we're on our toes. Like we can't finish a game anymore. And even when the morale goes down, it's just heads down. That's it. It's done. We're not coming back. And I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, you could tell. I mean, like Gio, you said you have a sense. Andy, you were at the game. You kind of saw what was going on. It's not the same intensity anymore, which is weird to me because this is the team that has high expectations. We're supposed to win the MLS Cup. The power rankings were always in the top 10 for some weird reason. We have all these big stars and depth, and Bob is the Messiah at LAFC. So this is the year that we're supposed to win everything that's available, but we're not seeing that anymore. The intensity has dropped off. And like you said, every man for himself, which is really weird. And as far as a leader on the team, who is the leader right now? I couldn't tell you who's the leader. You might wear the captain's armband, but you're not the captain on the pitch that day, because I couldn't tell you. You might as well not even have a captain's armband because there's not one person to step up yet.
Great point. Blunt. No. Great point. I mean, when it's going through something, let's talk about this, right? Obviously, Carlos Vela he's not a vocal leader, right? He doesn't talk to the media, but he did talk to the media after the game. Were you surprised, Andy? Because I was surprised when someone told me when I was at the Galaxy game, they're like, "Oh, Carlos Vela is talking," and I was like, "He is." I'm surprised he's talking. But what were your thoughts? Were you surprised that he spoke?
Yeah, I was. I definitely was. It had been a while since he did a press conference, either during the week or after a game. I mean, obviously, this is only his third game back from that injury, second game starting. He only answered 3 questions. There was not, admittedly, a lot of media on the call because a lot of the media was in Carson for the game, which was ironic in that sense. But yeah, he was candid. I'll tell you that much. In just those are the 3 questions that he answered, he was candid, and he said it. I'm not 100% right now, and I still have a long way to go to get there. And you could tell. I think he, like, physically, his appearance looked like he was a bit concerned. I don't think that there's many answers to a lot of the issues that they're having. And he said, he's like, this break is probably the best thing for us right now, saying that hopefully at the latter end of it, when they come back and play in June or in a few weeks, that he's able to be at 100 and, really lead this team to what they expect. But he said he's not there yet. And I think, once again, like I mentioned, it's a reflection on where the team is right now. He's not healthy. Maybe some other players are not healthy that we know of. Who knows? They'll never say that, admittedly, but there's just no there's no cohesion right now. And you guys have both alluded to it. It just seems like there's no number one clear-cut leader out there right now. The confidence is low, as I mentioned. And it seems like they just get down on themselves really quickly, whereas we're used to them being more of an energetic team and kind of seeing that. So, hey, maybe this break will be great. Maybe they have to do like a little team retreat or something and all get together and do something off the field that like gets that back. I'm not saying that the locker room is damaged. Like, these guys have played together for a long time, but it's only 7 games in, but trust me, they already feel the pressure in those 7 games. And I said it in the article that I alluded to earlier. Another loss or two when they come off of this break, and it's gonna be full blown panic mode. So there's not too much of a long leash anymore. It's definitely a short leash for them now.
Yeah, and before we get to LAFCLive, I wanted to play the second goal. I mean, I tweeted this out. I feel like set pieces for LAFC has to be their kryptonite. I don't know why they go on zone defending, but we have to play the highlight, unfortunately.
So we can get further clarity on the incident. It's played to the back post, and NYCFC, despite being down a man, appeared to have won it here at Bank of California Stadium. Tajuri Shradi profiting off the back end. And on 90 minutes, they've come all the way across the country and appear to have stolen 3 points at Bank of California.
Unbelievable corner kick. Let's take another look. I mean, the defending is terrible by LAFC. And Tajuri just comes in and knocks it in to give New York the 3 points. Doesn't matter that they're a man down on a corner kick. It doesn't make any difference at all. Set piece play, perfectly taking advantage of.
Like you said, terrible defending in that set piece. And I've been talking about LAFC's set piece defending all the way to MLS's back. I thought they would learn from this, the terrible season that they had. Unfortunately, not. Bob Bradley looks like he wants to be stay stubborn on that zone defending on set pieces, which clearly doesn't work. And if Bob Bradley is not going to adjust that, I think his time with LAFC may be cut short, because you got to learn from those. And zone defending on corner set pieces, LAFC is not good at. They're just not good at, unfortunately, and it's just the way. How are you down 10 men? I mean, how are you up a man and that dude is wide open? You know what I'm saying? Wide open in the 89th minute, and it just no one cared to look back, or how is he just wide open? And I think when you see that, and I guess I think it kind of gets to the point, like, why do you keep doing that, right? Why do you keep doing that defending? When that goal happened, LAFCLive, what was going through your mind?
It's the same. It's like I'm living Groundhog's Day. It's the same thing every season. Gio, I even told you. Remember, we've had some. That's a nice comment. So, in the beginning of the shows when you invited me on, I always said that I want to see improvement on the set pieces, correct? On defending, and I haven't seen any improvement at all. And it's so weird to me that we're continuing to do something that we're not good at. So I don't understand. We're up a man, and they're down 10. That's even more embarrassing. And you're telling me that no one had, how can no one have any awareness of what was going on, especially in a crucial last few minutes of the game? You're trying to scrap a point when you should be winning the game, and then they go on to win it with a man down on a set piece. That's inexcusable to me. And I even mentioned it. I told you, like, I'm going to repeat it again, I'm a broken record, kind of like LAFC being a broken record on zonal marking. Get rid of it. It doesn't work. And whoever's saying to do it should go, because we're losing points and we're losing crucial games. And I'm just tired of it. It's embarrassing, especially if a man up.
Yeah, I mean that's the most embarrassing thing. And they were down a man, and obviously LAFC is not learning from this mistake. And it's unfortunate because they have so much talent. Watch with so much talent and so much coaching experience that Bob Bradley has. I think that's his biggest flaw, is that zone defending when it comes to defense. there's like 3. If we go, I don't want to torch. Someone said I'm torching with these highlights and stuff. So
That's fine. That's fine.
I don't want to replay the highlight. But if you look, there's like three players up front, and it's just like it doesn't look like who are they guarding? You know what I'm saying? I'll quickly play it. So I'll play it for.
See if we can get further clarity on the incident. It's played to the back post, and NYCFC.
Like my thoughts on that's like in the zone defending, there's like 3 guys by the front post. Like if you're zone defending, what are you defending if no one's there? You know what I'm saying? That like who are you defending if no one's there? Like there has to me in my mind there has to be adjustments. All right, if you don't have anybody, you go to the front post. It looked like they were trying to play the offsides on a corner kick is what I read there. Like no one was on the first post. They were trying to play offsides, and I think they're just trying to do too much when you just need to keep it simple. And it's unfortunate for LAFC. And then the way they've been doing and the mistakes that keep on happening, right? It's unfortunate for LAFC. It's unfortunate for the fans, and it just thinks to me, it's like, when are they going to learn? When are they going to learn? You know what I'm saying, Andy? Like when you look at that and this happened consistent, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, man, you guys have said it. I mean, you can't keep having the same thing be your downfall. And if you know that set pieces is the one thing that's really been hurting you for basically ever, like why has there not been any improvement? I think you have to kind of go back to the basics. I mean, remember when we used to play soccer as kids and they're like, everybody just grab one person on a corner kick and just, you know what I mean? Like go back to that, because they have tall defenders. Like you have Jesus David Murillo, Tristan Blackman are tall defenders. It'd be one thing if you have like defenders that are short and smaller, maybe like a back row of Chiki or Kim Moon Hwan, but like you have the guys in the box that could defend. Like you can't leave somebody like that wide open on the back post, especially considering that he had just got subbed in not too long ago before that. And especially considering that I feel like 5 or 10 minutes before that goal happened, there was another corner kick that almost ended up being a goal. I don't know if you remember too well, LAFCLive, that it was a great save Pablo Cisniega made on the shot from outside the box. And that came off of a corner kick that LAFC tried to clear, and it ended up falling into the foot of whoever it was that shot the ball at that moment for New York. So it's frustrating because on top of the fact that you're not getting your typical offense and they're not able to score how they're used to at that rate, it's like now you're worrying about another problem that has already been a consistent thing over and over. So you mentioned it, but it needs to be some accountability and somebody saying like, hey, we need to change this. Like, this is not okay for somebody to be that wide open on the back post. I don't care what your strategy is. It's not acceptable. I feel like that's more of a mess up than the Mark Anthony K pass. Like players mess up and they'll try to, do too much in the back, but come on, man, you leave somebody wide open in the back post and up a man at that juncture of a game. Like that's not okay.
Yeah, and I think right when whoever, I think it might have been K back there. It's like, he I don't know. To me, it's mind-boggling that like no one looks to be back. I don't know. Like obviously, like what is Pablo supposed to do? Can you really blame Pablo? Maybe you can. Maybe, but hey, get this guy. Don't let this guy alone. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't understand why they're so bad when it comes to something. I can't get it through my head that they're so bad. But guys, if you guys have questions, comments, make sure you drop them in the chat. LAFCLive, where does LAFC go from here? Obviously, they got 2 weeks breaks. Where would you like the LAFC to go from here?
We need to work on a lot, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. We need to work on just a team meeting. Say no more zonal marking. That's gone. Man marking. That's what we're gonna do. And if you want to counterattack, if Cisniega gets the ball, you just sprint out to the wings and we'll counterattack from that. No more zonal marking. Cut that out. Honestly, like Andy said, like a retreat or something like that. Maybe they need to go play FIFA or something at someone's house. Yeah, or something like that, because this team looks so dysfunctional at times, and they need to get some intensity back in the team, and also the morale. Let's maybe I don't know. I'm not a coach, so I'm just saying like you need to get something back in this team. You're just out of the funk. See, you got until what, June 19th? That's like what, 2 weeks? Mm-hmm. Just work on the intensity, work on the morale again, and also cut out the zonal marking. And hopefully everybody's healthy. Maybe there's some underlying injuries we don't know about as well. Let's get the team back up to shape. Hopefully Valla can nurse that injury and get up to speed as well. And that's what I want to see. When we come back, I want to see a different LAFC than we see the first 7 games. I want to see a hungry LAFC. I want to see a team that wants to win, wants to score, and not be so fragile and soft. I want to see a team that's aggressive, wants to be a bully. Because I'm tired of getting bullied all the time. I've said it before. We get bullied a lot. So we need to be the bullies. I'm tired of it, you know?
Yeah, in the chat, DSO says, "Nah, LAFCLive is a coach."
I'd be fired after 1 week. I wouldn't make it.
So Andy, obviously, Joseph jumps in here and says LAFC is known for 2 things: losing at set pieces and giving up the lead the last 15 minutes to either draw or lose. I mean, that's unfortunate that may or may not be the thing. But Andy, Kim Woo-Wan and I think Chiqui Palacios are the only 2 players that are going on national, and Mark Anthony K, excuse me. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think those are the only 3 players that are going on national team duty, right? So, I mean, those players are going to still be getting games, right? But the rest of the group, what are your thoughts like on them and what they have to do? Obviously, you mentioned that maybe going on a retreat and stuff, but Vela having more time to heal the injury, but I think there's other players that may have to either bond or work on some things individually.
Yeah, I believe also is it Sifu? One of the Ecuadorians is also going. I'm not sure which one. I forget.
I think it's Chiqui Palacios.
One of them. But yeah, besides that, they're pretty good. They're not going to have to worry about too many players having to leave. And Bob also talked about Kim Woo-Wan having to go so far for his international duties and how that may change. But maybe Mark gets a bit of confidence from being with his Canada teammates, and that helps him in that way. But yeah, the really is getting back to the drawing board and working. Like, you can't look at this break as a way of saying, okay, like, hey, we're good. The perfect example is using the Galaxy. Like, the Galaxy won a 1-0 game with an own goal, and that win, those 3 points at home right before the break in the rivalry game, is going to feel like amazing, even though maybe the result wasn't. For LAFC, those 3 points would have felt great too, even if it was a bad game, because they're coming off of that win against Colorado, and now you're coming in with a little bit more energy and intensity to that break. The morale is going to be a lot different than it is now. So, I mean, they're going to just have to work. I think, like I mentioned, the most important thing is Vela having some time to be able to get back to anywhere close to 100, which it's going to be a mystery because we don't know. And remember the opener? We're over here thinking like, oh, Bob pulled the trigger too fast, and go figure. We're talking about this almost 2 months later, and we're just like, this guy is not 100. He played 90 minutes, this and that. So it's gonna be a learning experience for everybody, from management all the way down. And like we have mentioned, if they come out of this looking the same the way that they came in, then it's gonna be okay. Now a lot of things need to be put into action, and people need to move, or people need to sit, whatever the case may be, because they're gonna have to be active in the market looking for some players. They're gonna have to reconsider what they have and see what their best options are, because I say this with LAFC all the time, they get really stagnant, and they find a group of, let's just say 11 or 12 that they think works, and they just leave it. And the most important thing to know too is when they get out of this break, they play the 19th against Houston, and they play that following Wednesday against Dallas. So it's going to be 2 quick games. It offers them not a lot of time to, if they take another L in that Houston game, to kind of recover. So these Wednesday games going to start rolling around, is going to start challenging them a lot more. That's going to be interesting to see how they react to that too.
No, yeah, not just that. The ninth, you had a great point, is Houston Dynamo on the 19th, FC Dallas on the 23rd, and then they travel to Sporting KC 3 days after that on the 26th. So it's not an easy schedule. You're getting a little bit of flack here, Andy. I'm just for this Andy excuses.
Excuses in what way, man? I'll try to be more clear for you.
But I mean, he's just throwing some shade there. You know how it goes.
That's all.
But yeah, let's look LAFC. Let's look at the time. The timeline, the standings. So we obviously LAFC right there in 9th place with 8 points. Definitely, you don't. That's not a pretty sight to see. But obviously, they got to get this thing turning around, because the Western Conference is not an easy place to play, as we know, right? All those teams up there are very tough and very confident, right? But going into the break, right, and they're gonna come back. They got, the good thing about it is that they have 2 home games, right? You have 2 home games, very winnable games: Houston Dynamo and FC Dallas, right? I think if they come back and get the victory, then the perception changes right now. But unfortunately for them, the good thing and the bad thing is that they don't play for 2 weeks, right? And I think, what would you like to see them when they come back and play those Texas teams?
I want to be aggressive when we play these two teams. We're at home. I think by the time everything comes back at June 19th, the bank should be open at 100%, I believe.
100%
I could be wrong. 100%. Okay, yeah. So there should be no excuses to see that, we don't have the home crowd behind us because the 3250. Everyone will be ready to go. And I just want to be aggressive from the front. I don't want to be timid. We're playing against a couple teams that I think are winnable. Yes, we did tie Houston away from home 1-1. We should be able to beat them, I think. I said that about New York City FC too, but I was wrong. But I expect 6 points. I really do. There's no reason that we should not be winning home games when we've – another stat, we apparently have the best home record with Bob Bradley because he's been our only coach. He's undefeated or something like that, some weird stat I saw. So that's another reason that we should be fine. That's what I just want to get a win. I want to get a consecutive wins in a row. That's what I really want to see. I want to see some consistency on this team, in this club, and this coaching staff.
Yeah, and Joseph brings up a very hot topic. Let's put it that way. Bob can't afford a loss or a draw coming from the break. He will lose the fan base, and they will turn on him quick. No more, and Bob we trust. What are your thoughts on that, Andy?
Yeah, that's what I said. A loss or two after this break is gonna blow this into full blown panic mode. And you say the best. What they need the most is a win first. That's the most important thing. And number two is consistency. I mean, I don't think LAFC could look too far into the future knowing that they have these issues right now. They're going to really have to take this one game at a time and say, okay, let's try to do this, let's try to do that. Because as I mentioned, you're coming off of that Colorado win. If you get a win against New York going into the break, this is a whole different dynamic, even if they play terrible and they get the win. So they need to get those consecutive wins as well, but that's further down the road. You need to just show some consistency, and you can't just keep saying, oh, this player is not sharp, or maybe we weren't able to have energy, or we looked bad in this half of the game. Like, that's not going to cut it anymore. It's going to be we need accountability. And the times that LAFC have lost on bigger stages, let's say like playoff games or CONCACAF Champions League or things like that, MLS's back tournament for a great example. I wrote that, I believe, after MLS's back tournament, like, this team just needs accountability, and it never seems to happen. Like, you need to be able to say, hey, that's my bad, I did that. The only time we've heard that in the past is Bob Bradley when he subbed Carlos Vela out, which ended up not being a mistake of that home opener. So it's just they need to take a look at each other and see, hey, we got up to a bad start, and this is a fresh slate. I mean, these 7 games are obviously going to be part of the story of this year, but you forget MLS is a very long season, and these 7 games could, at the end of the day, not really have much to say when we get in the latter parts of the season. But we're not just going to glance over like it's not a big deal. So they need to get that consistency up for sure.
100%. And you bring up a great point, is the accountability. We don't really hear that from LAFC. I watched the press conference call, but I don't remember Vela saying, or anybody saying my bad or anything like that. Because I mean, then I think that eases okay. Even though they lost, obviously it doesn't look good. But when there's accountability, there's acknowledgement that, hey, things aren't going good. But I don't think you can overlook those things. There's no way, and the way that they're going. And I think that starts from the top. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking at the accountability, who's at the top and how things are getting worked at. By no means do I feel like LAFC's out of this or anything like that, but it just doesn't look good right now because of these high expectations and who they have as a coach, who they have as a player, and it's not sinking. You know what I'm saying? But let's talk about the potential of DP. I think Brian Rodriguez. We know for a fact now that we know for a fact that if Almeida make it to the first division, there's that buyout clause. What are your thoughts on that, and how likely do you think that'll happen in LAFC Live?
Well, when I first heard the news, shout out to LAFC Uruguay, he was on it. It was great, exciting news. But the only thing is that we need Almeria to win and get promoted, which is a difficult task. As many people know that, when you're in La Liga 2 or the Championship in England, if you're not the top 2 teams, you have to play the playoff system, which 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5, which I think Almeria finished 4th. They'll be taking on Girona. I don't think I'm saying it right, but it's gonna be interesting because I think Brian is with Uruguay right now, so I don't think he's gonna be in these matches. Correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but it's gonna be interesting because we really need them to win, and I think the figures was a low 8 figures. So if we can recuperate what we bought them for, that'd be awesome. But I'm the biggest Almeria fan right now, and I think a lot of LAFC fans are. So let's hope they get promoted.
So it looks like they play tomorrow. They play tomorrow against Girona at 12 p.m. So I mean, and it looks like they play 2 legs. So tomorrow is the first leg, and then they play Saturday, June 5th, the second leg of the semifinal. So I mean, tomorrow's a big game for LAFC fans and Almeria, because I mean tomorrow at 12 p.m. So that's a big thing that I was just looking it up. So tomorrow's the first leg. Obviously, Brian Rodriguez, he's on international duty. He's with Uruguay. Yeah. So it really comes down to Almeria. I mean, Brian Rodriguez has no way he's going to be impacting that game there. So I think we'll have to see and tune in, because if they're out, you know, I know that I was talking. I know LAFC is looking at a number 9. They're looking at number 9. I don't know who, but that's just some word I got that they're looking at number 9s. But I don't know if it's internet. I don't know if it's Europe. I don't know if it's South America and stuff like that. But I know LAFC's they got some names that they're looking at. But even with these issues that they're having, I don't know if any player could come fix this, because I think these are more internal issues. It's not necessarily obviously some of these are very tactical things, but I think as a group collective, there's a bigger picture there. So we'll have to see. And then Silo in the chat says, I hate promotion playoffs. They're a pain. Yes, they are. You got to tune in tomorrow. Luis has some jokes. Will Ferrell for coach. B-Ride is coming back. I mean, Will Ferrell will make it exciting, but I don't know how it would look tactically. I don't know if this they may turn into a Ted Lasso type of thing.
He wouldn't do zonal marking, that's for sure.
Yeah, Andy, LAFC Hawaii has a question. He's like, what about John? I'm assuming he's talking about John Thornton. How of a hot seat is he in?
Nah, John Thornton's fine. Honestly, Bob Bradley's fine too. I don't think that there's any pressure from outside the powers that be that will say that either of these 2 guys are on the hot seat. Whether or not the fans are happy with what they're doing, that's a whole different story. And obviously that pressure does begin to get felt. And if this year does end up going badly, as it already seems, then I think we're having a different conversation. But right now, into the season, I think we're good. I think John Thornton's one of the more liked front office officials in all MLS for the way that he kind of constructed this team. So no, I don't see a hot seat for either of the 2.
Your thoughts, LAFCLive?
Their seat should be a little warm. Not if their seat isn't just a little warm, then I would be worried as a fan where we're going, because if there's no, then that means we're playing with no pressure. Just go out there and just do whatever. If the seat isn't warm, then obviously they're not doing something right. And we haven't done anything right all season, to be honest with you. It's been lackluster. Some of the signings haven't been there. Brian Rodriguez, who loans their DP out to another team while the MLS season's going on? I've never seen that or heard of that. So we're breaking records there.
There was a lot of issues.
Andre Horta,
kind of needed to happen, but I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Andre Horta, obviously that didn't work out. And then remember Gabber, the Egyptian player that played for us, it was hyped up, didn't really do much either. Zelaya, I think I'm saying his name wrong probably. He was hyped up to be a striker, didn't play. Yeah, played what 2 games, 1 game if that. So John Thornton's seat should be hot. It should be hot, especially if this season we don't win a trophy. Yeah, we're gonna have to look in the mirror a little bit. That's just my opinion, though.
No, what I will say, it's not trending in the right direction for him or Bob Bradley. It's not. I mean, that's just clear. There's no other way to put it. But that could quickly get erased if we see something different these first 2 games. And if that doesn't happen, I mean, we'll be here to talk about it. I can promise you that we'll be here to talk about it and discuss and break it down. But like right now, I think it's not the worst end all be all for Bob Bradley and John Thornton right now. But if these first 2 games they don't come and win, then I think we need to start having the conversation and how you fix it for the remainder of the season. But I think that's it, guys. We'll wrap things up there. We know that I know there's also a lot of things going on. The Lakers are playing playoffs and stuff, but I think we definitely hit it there. You're getting some live from Josue, LAFCLive for president. You're getting some love there.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So, but yeah, let's sign off there. Everybody, thank you for being on the chat. Andy, let the people know where they can follow you and your articles as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure. Andy Deossa on Twitter with the underscore. So Andy_Deossa on Twitter. That's where most of my work is. I'll try to be as many games as possible. Tweet out stuff during the games, after the games, and then I post my work there. So I'm sports writer for Yahoo Sports, and I'm doing both LA teams as much as possible and MLS as a whole. So yeah, just give me a follow, give me a shout, whatever you want, and we'll keep the conversation going throughout the season.
Definitely. LAFCLive, let the people know.
You can follow me on Twitter. We are LAFCLive. I'm mostly on there running the polls, getting your guys' opinions, just speaking my mind pretty much. You can agree with it or not. And that's pretty much it. On Instagram too, we're LAFCLive as well. I'm not as active on there, but you can follow me. And thanks for having me on again, Gio. And nice talking to you, Andy. Really.
Always.
Of course. I mean, that's why I have both of you guys on. I mean, you guys have very great perspectives, right? And different views at times, which is great. And I think this is what makes the show amazing. Yeah, guys, look, if you guys are listening to the podcast, every Tuesday night we're talking LAC at 7 p.m. If you want to join us, if you want to ask questions to either me or the guest, we'd love to have you guys on. And everybody in the chat, thank you for tuning in. If you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that way you're notified when we go live, just in case you may forget that. You guys can also follow me at Gio Garcia LA on Twitter. So for Andy, for LAFCLive, this is Gio. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Lakers down by 20 right now.